All right, it is Alex with Green Rev again, and I'm impressed, honored, and sort of just in a way really relaxed as I was driving in here, because we are in Pennsylvania at a certified organic farm, correct?
Yeah.
And this is James Schleppenbach. And James, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what we're doing here?
I'm a farmer here, grower here, apprentice coordinator. Started in March 2015. Jersey guy, grew up in New Jersey, not in a farming background. Ended up getting into farming after college, and philosophical, nutritional, just interest, everything kind of led me down this path from being kind of a suburban kid to ending up working here, which is really nice. It's about an hour from where I grew up. We're here in Bucks County. This place is owned by a nonprofit called Carversville Farm Foundation, and we grow primarily food for donation to food banks and soup kitchens, and the owners of the foundation started it based on the need in the Philly area, and they're from Philly and recognize the need, and so we kind of developed a team of farmers over the last couple of years, and started with vegetables and some chickens for eggs, and we expanded and got goats, and we're doing goats for milk and cheese, and some of that stuff will be sold to support the foundation, but right now 99% of what we're growing is donated. And this past fall we got certified organic, so that's exciting, and we've got a little bit of everything here. The newest additions are the pigs, and they're in here kind of getting acclimated to the new place.
There they are. Wow.
And then they'll end up going out into the field, and they'll live their lives on pasture.
Hey guys, wow. They're going to live their lives on pasture.
They'll live their lives on pasture.
So a true free, healthy way to raise livestock these pigs are going to experience.
Yeah, we have a great livestock manager who joined us last year, and he's running everything on pasture. We do supplement some grain, certified organic grain.
Okay.
Like these guys are eating grain right now, but they'll be on pasture. And
wow.
Pigs are new to me. I haven't done much with pigs.
Yeah.
But we've got the cows and goats running together in the same grazing area. So
okay.
We call that a flurd.
A flurd.
It's like a flock and a herd.
A flock and a herd. A flurd, cows and goats.
Yep.
And now we're going to have pigs, so it's going to be a pufflurd.
Yeah.
So first of all, congratulations on this switch, because I think a lot of people grow up in a particular way of thinking, whether that's a thought form paradigm, religion, culture, and they never break through or out of it. And not that, doing what you've been told and living a life that is similar to your parents is bad or good. It's just I'm always impressed with people who are able to assess where they are and truly see what the other possibilities out there and sort of follow their compass, because it's difficult. So go from New Jersey suburbs out to Pennsylvania is pretty awesome. This is a complete life change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're growing at an organic farm, and fruits, veggies, all sorts of poultry products, beef, cattle, pigs, and galore. So, and this is a certified organic natural farm.
Yeah.
Non-GMO, right?
Yeah.
And you said the organization is called what again?
Carversville Farm Foundation.
Carversville Farm Foundation. And 99% of all the things you grow and produce here are donated?
Yeah, we work with a couple partners to make that happen. We do.
How is that possible?
We do deliveries twice a week. Yeah, right now it's all being funded by the donors of the foundation.
That's extremely generous.
Yeah, they have a successful business.
Wow.
And they've done well, and this is kind of their way of giving back. And the owners, really wanted to have a farm. This was a way to combine.
Wow.
Combine the philanthropy with doing something cool and doing something they enjoy, and
yeah,
they're involved in an executive way, but we're all here farming, and we've got our farm manager, livestock manager, field manager, and then I fall under the field manager, working with vegetables and mushrooms primarily. And,
okay.
We've got a lot going on, so it's kind of split up into different departments, and we're trying to look at the whole farm as an ecosystem,
right,
and model the farm activities around natural ecosystem processes where you've got trees, shrubs, grasses, annual vegetables kind of fall in there as more of a unique thing that, vegetables I think are one of the most challenging things to mimic nature in doing, because they're so short-lived. They've been bred over generations, over centuries, to produce put all their energy up into the fruit.
Right.
So they're not developed to survive in the wild.
Oh, interesting. So we bred them almost like we're genetically engineering and breeding chickens to have these huge meaty breasts, right, to harvest.
Yeah.
But they're not really going to be able to survive out in the wild. So
Exactly.
these vegetables
You got to baby them. You got to open up the ground,
Interesting.
which
Wow.
disturbs the soil, which isn't great for
I've never
soil
heard
life.
that before. So vegetables are this very sensitive thing that is like, I would say, little vegetation, maximum vegetable or fruit, right?
Right.
That's interesting. I never
Yeah.
knew that. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, we work vegetables in, and we use a lot of mulch. We use cover crops. We try to feed the soil with compost teas and foliar amendments. And
what was that? Foliar amendments?
Foliar amendments.
What does that mean, foliar amendments?
It's like liquid soluble nutrients that
Okay.
come from natural sources like seaweed, seawater, to get trace minerals and micronutrients that
Okay.
are often not in the soil because of years of soil erosion and poor farming practices. That
Okay.
we take soil tests every year, sometimes twice a year, and we manage our compost rates, our foliar nutrition program, and our cover cropping to try to address any limiting factors to healthy soil. And I could geek out on that for days, and we could get as heady as you want when it comes to that stuff, because that's kind of what I get into the most here.
I love it. And these are things that I'm learning. I think our audience is really going to appreciate too, because I think, I just have to talk about the generosity of the people who run this farm, because that is 99% of all proceeds, not even proceeds, 99% of everything you grow and produce and raise here is donated.
Yeah.
Talk about philanthropy. So thank you to them.
Yeah.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Wow. So pigs, we started with the pigs. Where do you want to bring us next?
Well, we got some veggies here, and we might as well take a walk up here and take a look at some of the fields.
Okay.
Although this is the first season we've broken into this field, so it's a little rough. Anytime we break into a new field for the first time, you learn about the legacies of the past.
Right.
Previous land use history on this farm is interesting because it's varied. It's about 200 acres.
Okay.
We've got 170 in an 8-foot tall deer fence. So
170 in an 8-foot tall deer fence.
So 8-foot tall deer fence surrounds that 170.
Right.
Keeps the deer from eating all the vegetables and browsing. It allows us to reduce that damage, which is significant in Bucks County because the deer population is about 26 times the sustainable rate when it comes to things like forest understory regrowth.
26 times the sustainable rate.
Yeah.
So the population of deer has not doubled, not tripled, 26 times its sustainable rate, which means we've killed the predators, or something humanity has done has prevented that natural balance. Wolves, right? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And the hunting laws are what they are, and they're different all around the different states, and so we are their natural predators, and people don't eat enough deer.
Cars and hunting deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go hunt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, cars, but it's dangerous.
And natural death, right.
So we've got a little patch of watermelon here. We transplanted these watermelon.
Okay.
And we kind of got compost incorporated, and I don't know if you can tell that these beds are sort of at an angle to the field. They're sort of slanted. If you looked at this field from an aerial map, it's like a rectangle. But instead of farming in a rectangle, we're farming on almost on contour, which means it's in relationship to the slope of the hill.
On contour, in relationship to the slope of the hill.
Yeah.
Presumably for watering and drainage purposes?
It's to prevent erosion.
Okay.
And to maximize the water absorption of the beds.
Okay.
So these beds were laid out at a 1% pitch downhill, going towards the ridge, away from where the water would naturally concentrate in the valley. This ridge slopes down toward the barnyard.
Right.
And every winter, especially when the snow melts and we get those spring rains, everything kind of floods and pools toward the barns, and flooding is an issue all over the place, especially farms, and erosion is an issue. So the way we laid out our beds, because they're raised beds, they do affect the flow of water. When it rains, it'll catch and sort of slowly move toward the low spot, and we made it so that intentionally the low spot now is diverting toward the ridge, which is generally the drier spot,
right?
Because it's higher and that sheds the water first. So the way we lay out our beds is in relationship to contour, and so when you're looking at this field and other fields, we got that going on, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, to me, it's almost like geoengineering and irrigation in one, right? I mean, instead of, just straight up irrigating, you're using the land itself to funnel and control that flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and down here you said these are watermelons, right?
Yep.
And so this is an irrigation line here,
Yeah,
or
this is drip tape. So
okay, drip tape.
every foot there's a little slit in there, and that drips out water. It's a more efficient way to water than, say, sprinklers.
Okay.
Because it's very targeted, and it gets right down into the soil.
And James, you said that this also, in addition to the other solid amendments you put into the soil, you use various compost teas.
Yeah. We like to target the vegetables when they're young, and then also when they're flowering. And I have a backpack sprayer that I use to spray, and it gets.
That's a high five, because every time I see a backpack spray, you know what I think? Roundup.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite. Good
Exactly.
for you and good for just awesome. Good for everybody.
It's funny because we spray a lot, and we spray in our pasture fields, and where we have 10 to 20 acre fields of cover crops and stuff that end up getting grazed. And I was actually just yesterday morning at the crack of dawn out on the road in the tractor with our spray tank to spray. It's just amazing stuff. It's got liquid fish for protein and lipids, which feed soil fungus, and also foliar nutrition to the plants.
And how do you spell that? Foliar?
Foliar. Foliar as in foliage, as in leaf surface of the plant.
Gotcha, okay.
Because the leaf surface of the plant, most people don't realize, has a biofilm on it. A biofilm is it's a microbial layer, covers there's biofilms covering the entire surface of everything on the planet.
The microbiome.
Yeah.
It's biofilm.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like the first protective layer of the plant to foliar diseases, like fungal diseases that end up forming rust on leaves, or something like a blight, which affects tomatoes and potatoes. And so we're addressing, the physiology of the leaf is important to understand for us when we're applying these foliar nutrients, which are basically highly absorbable, water soluble, and to some extent complexed in other carbon structures, so that they don't just wash away.
And so for our viewers, water soluble meaning they dissolve in water and therefore are more readily absorbed by that plant?
Taken up directly by the plant.
Direct injection, so to speak.
And that's not like your typical ammonium nitrate that's like the fertilizer that's sprayed on corn and soybean fields all over the country.
Chemically produced in a factory.
Use Haber-Bosch process, using fossil fuels to pull nitrogen out of the air to be able to feed plants that nitrogen.
Yeah, can you break down the Haber-Bosch process? Because that's, I think, really important. I mean, people think, nitrogen, nitrogen's a nitrogen, right? It's in a periodic table of elements, it's an element. So what's the difference between having it in an all-natural form versus, a synthetic form?
I'm definitely not a chemist.
Yeah.
So I'm a layman when it comes to describing chemistry. Nitrogen, N2, is a gas, one of the most common gases in our atmosphere.
Approximately 80% of our atmosphere is composed of it, right?
Nitrate, nitrite, ammonium nitrate, these are different forms of nitrogen that are taken up by plants and used for things like amino acids and forming the structure of plants. Really important. There's native soil organisms that fix nitrogen, which means they take that N2 and turn it into these amino acids and other, I want to say, this is where I get it mixed up, nitrate or nitrite.
Right, but one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Haber-Bosch process is kind of a chemical, it's a fossil fuel-based production of, or transformation of N2 into ammonium nitrate, which is highly leachable, which means anytime you spray it, this is a big problem in the Mississippi River Basin and pretty much all of the country's waterways. It leaves the soil. Some of it gets taken up by the plant, but there's a high rate of nitrate pollution from this factory-formed nitrogen fertilizer.
Right.
And it creates algal blooms in the Gulf, Mexico, affects the fishing industry. It provides an excess of nutrients into the water, a unnatural amount that kind of throws out of balance the those aquatic ecosystems.
Yeah, I know. I think about CO2, and I talk to my students. I'm like, is CO2 bad? Well, no, it's not good either. No, it's about balance, right? It's a proper amount in that proper harmonious stage. So I think about the nitrates and nitrites, and people thinking, oh, if it's natural, there's their, I guess, almost like their elementary argument. But what you're saying, that's the truth, right? So we need to have these waste products, and in nature, waste equals food, become food for the next animal or next plant in that cycle. So thank you for explaining that and doing such a great job of that. And the Haber-Bosch process of using fossil fuels is coming to a point which I believe it's not sustainable any longer, and we need to get back to doing what you're doing. And I want to touch on the point of bacteria, right? So we have nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Do we also have other microbes like fungus and protists that also play a role in soil and plant root health?
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a walk and we'll talk about that in the context of some of our cover crops.
Great.
Yeah. The soil food web, as it's called, is a nice way to think about the soil ecosystem and the soil microbiology.
Right.
And the soil microbiome. There's a series of relationships, and it's all based around energy, both which comes from the plants, or really comes from the sun. Plants, the beauty of plants, they take sun energy. This is photosynthesis. They use the sun energy to split the carbons from the CO2 from the atmosphere. That's sequestering carbon. They take the carbon in, CO2, use the energy from the sun to break those carbons up, and then they use those carbons to form back together carbon chains, which is the basis of simple sugars and carbohydrates,
H12O6.
Everything that glucose. Cell structure and cell function and nutrition kind of is based off of.
Right.
Those are called exudates. When they are, these carbon chains, sent out into the soil through plant roots. Plants are using this resource to essentially, you could say, farm or feed this microbiological community in the soil and on their leaf surface.
So the plants actually release into the ground via their roots. It's not just a
significant amount.
It's a two-way system.
Yeah.
It's water in, nutrients in, and then they're I don't want to say excreting, but they're depositing.
They
excrete it. So and
selectively
excrete. What do you call them again?
Exudates.
Exudates. Things that come out of something.
Yeah.
And so that So
it's a resource, right? You got sugars, which everything needs, especially bacteria, and then protozoa eat bacteria, and fungi also. They take other the lipids and other things, carbon chains, and they're also decomposing things